I believe over the next 3 to 5 years, we are going to see accidental landlords grow. Let's talk about what accidental landlords are, and we'll talk about, more importantly, how accidental landlords should use tools to make the process seamless and easy. We're going to have this conversation with the one and only Dana from Hemlane. How you doing, Dana?
I'm great. Thanks for having me today.
Absolutely. One of the things that I believe is happening right now is a lot of homeowners are looking at their home and realizing that given the mortgage they have, given the mortgage payment, that this is really an asset for them, and that they should look at the opportunity, if they can, of keeping said asset with 2%, 3% mortgage. So I really do believe over the next 3 to 5 years, we are going to see a lot of homeowners make a smart decision, keep their primary and turn it into a rental and then go buy the next house. But that means we're going to have a lot more accidental landlords. And I think Hemlane is the tool, is the platform to facilitate an easy leap into being an accidental landlord, turning them into a purpose-built landlord. What say you, Dana? What do you think?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, in part because, and for an accidental landlord, right, they didn't intentionally go purchase this property. And with so many people locked into interest rates under 3.5%, you could say even 3% on the lower end, eventually you have to move. I think about most people I know out there that are either upgrading, like more bedrooms, they're growing their families, or downsizing, right? Their kids have moved out, gone to college, whatever it may be, and looking to make a change. And in all of those cases, your mortgage becomes an asset suddenly because of how low it is.
Absolutely.
And that thought of having some steady, consistent cash flow over time is really attractive to most individuals. The other thing I think that you'll see happen is houses passed down through generations, especially with baby boomers, all of them retired, and saying, hey, I've got this property, and the kids not wanting to sell it. A lot of them honestly have an emotional attachment. They were raised in the house. They don't want to sell it. And so what are they going to do? They're going to go ahead and rent it. At the end of the day, real estate, as you know, and the rental market is still small mom and pop. There are not as many institutional investors as you would think. The numbers show that.
Yeah. It's really funny. I mean, because when you really step back, the mortgage that many homeowners have is truly the best asset they will own in their life. And what do I mean? There are people, and I've met them, that have a 1.99, a 2.13, a 2.4 mortgage. And here's the deal, folks. Inflation has been over 2.5% for 5 freaking years. So you have borrowed 30-year capital below the rate of inflation, which is like printing money.
Yep.
And, oh, by the way, it's a fixed cost. Yes, insurance is up some. Yes, taxes are up some. But when you have a basis of 2%, that's an asset you should never, ever let go, right? Assuming you are in the financial situation where you could keep it. And the next reason I think Hemlane is the answer for accidental landlords is you are a purpose-built platform, on the back of landlords like me, right? Who've been doing it on purpose. But over time, I've seen you tailor the solution, offer free options, offer lots of different ways to get started. And you break down the ownership for accidental landlords, like advertising. Great. Why don't you just do it in one place? I'll hit all 30 spots. Why don't we help collect rent instead of doing all this and do that? And the Hemlanes of the world will prove to be mom and pop's, accidental landlords' favorite tool of choice, is my belief.
Yeah. I think you're right about from the perspective of tools and services. One thing we've noticed with the SMB, so like small mom and pop or landlords, is when we started, we had just a free trial. And the reason we just had a free trial was we said, hey, we'll go out of business if we don't charge. Like, what I mean? We're not being greedy here. We're just going to go out of business. What we realized was having a try for free and having a landlord realize they're going to have to pay after 30 days or 14 days actually was a barrier in itself to even just try it. And so that's why we launched a free plan to say this is free forever. You
Yep.
can use this just to get what you need. And really what you need is like good accounting to make sure that you're making cash flow off of it. You're tracking your financials, and then also finding and placing a good tenant.
Yep.
The most costly expense, a lot of people think it's vacancy. It's actually a bad tenant. And so with that being the most costly expense, how do we make it where you never question, where was my property listed? Maybe a tenant didn't see my property, or I didn't do the right screening on them. That was really important for us when we came up with saying, you know, we need a free forever plan. And again, it was a way to say, we just want you to try it. We just want you to have a good experience with rentals, because we know if you have a good experience as an accidental landlord or a house hacker, you will actually purchase more properties.
Oh,
you
absolutely.
will become more sophisticated, but you need that first good experience, because I think all too often, and this is the thing about the rental industry, it's too freaking difficult because you deal with people's emotions.
Yep.
And that's what makes it really, really challenging. So if you can reduce that risk, if you can make it easier, then suddenly people will be more attractive to being landlords. I think when I talk to friends who aren't invested in real estate, which is most of my friends, but they have the net worth to do it, the biggest thing is like, they're like, I don't want the headaches of tenants. And so that is really what we're out to solve. And I think, Michael, the coolest thing about it also is that it's only going to get better, because AI has been one of the things where, I don't know if you saw Sam Altman's post the other day about making it more human, right? And the new wave with OpenAI. But one thing I would say is, AI is not going to replace everything. You need people. They need to know there's a person behind it. But it is actually going to make your life easier, and it makes it more affordable. So for us, there are certain things where we said, hey, at this package point, we actually can't put a human in to respond to your messages. It's too expensive. But suddenly when you have AI, you can say, hey, we can reinvent our packages. We can make this easier. And now you see in our basic package more of those AI features that it's like, hey, we'll limit what they say. We'll limit what they do. We still need a human in there, so that maybe you, landlord, but we can at least make it easier for you to do business and hopefully purchase more rental properties and experience passive cash flow.
Yeah. At the end of the day, when I think about accidental landlords and the fact that more people should, quote unquote, become one, right? They didn't buy the house on purpose to be a landlord, but it is an asset they should keep. Now, you know, it starts with advertising, but again, Hemlane really tackles the hard problems for land, especially mom and pop, you know, accidental landlords. What are those? Repair coordination, right? The secret sauce of Hemlane, as far as I'm concerned, is what you've been able to break down for repair coordination. And again, this helps accidental landlords that maybe you bought the house in Texas, but you want to go live in Nashville. Great. Still works. Repair coordination. Evictions. One of the things that accidental landlords are likely afraid of is evictions. You can help with that. And then lastly, new accidental landlords don't know what they don't know. And something you and I don't talk about enough is your resource tab, right? Hemlane.com/resources. You might go there, go look up your state, county, and see what you see. Because that team, whoever does that, or, you know, several people do amazing work. So again, you're giving them a platform for communication, audit, finance, but you're also tackling the hard problem, the messy problems, the people problems. So talk about all those.
Yeah. So I think when it comes to people, I've noticed it's even like managers at a company, the best people are not emotional. They look at the facts, they look at two sides of the story, and then they get alignment between the two, right? And for us, it's the same with anything. There's always an answer, I say. Like with repair coordination, there's always an answer. Either the lease or the state will tell you who's responsible for it, right? Yeah. That's it. There's always an answer, and then it becomes non-emotional. And making that clear up front, and making sure you have concrete leases, and making sure that tenants know what they're responsible for. All of that's part of it. And then the other thing is, where I see communication fail is because someone forgot to do something or say something. Typical examples of that are troubleshooting. Someone forgot to troubleshoot or forgot to provide the right instructions to troubleshoot, or the right instructions so when the service professional's on site, they can fix it once and they're not coming with multiple trip charges. And all of that actually can be done through us, because the great benefit of it is if you are in California or you are in Massachusetts, it's basically the same process to troubleshoot a home. Now, homes might have different things.
Sure.
Weathering is different in places where it's cold weather, but still there's the same process. And so what's cool about it is we can make that consistent, reminding tenants that if they're not there, there may be a no-show fee, reminding tenants what they need to do, but make sure there's no liability involved for troubleshooting. So that's really the people game and that consistency that's provided. Rent mediation is a really interesting one, Michael. Before getting my first rental property, I was scared of a non-paying tenant and having to do an eviction. And now what's interesting about it is once you know the process, it's almost one of those things where you say, great, I want a tenant who communicates with me, because that will help me understand, do I need to serve a notice? And in some cases, I've had tenants say, go post a notice for me. And the reason I want you to post one is I need to go down to the local church group and get a payment, but I can't get that payment until I have that notice posted. Right. I used to think before becoming a real estate investor that posting a notice would be a terrible experience for a tenant. And in some cases, they want that because they don't want to lose their home. They do want to pay you the rent. And then you can work on a longer term solution if they can't afford the place, maybe their job changed, a longer term solution to get them out of the place, get them into another safe home that they can afford. And so it's been really interesting, because one of the things I've loved about it is dealing with people and being able to explain that and say, we want this. Also, we want to keep tenants in the home. We want to see what we can do to help them. At the same time, we also want to make sure that no one feels out money or violated by the lease, that we're not following the legally binding contract. And so one of my passion projects has really been, hey, I know many landlords have never been through an eviction, and you hope they never do, but at least we have some support there to let them know what the process is.
Yeah, no, I think again, and that's all of that is dead on and valid, but it's also, we got to highlight that resources tab. I don't think enough, accidental landlords who have this fear have gone and just looked at how much data is there. Talk about the resources tab.
Yeah, so in the resources tab, there's a couple of things. One, there's a rent estimate tool. It's free. You can put in your rental rate. It will give you a report of all the properties that have just been leased in the last 6 months in your area, or it's 3 months based on how many properties are in your area. But anyway, that will help you just know how much could I rent my property for. Then you can look at your mortgage and do that calculation. Or if you have a tenant in your property, you can see where your rental rate is versus what they're paying. That's the first one. The other one is there's a rent versus sell calculator. That will basically, you'll put everything in, like what your mortgage rate is, how much the rent is going to be. And that will basically tell you, should you keep the property or should you sell the property? So that's the rent
versus sell. Nice.
Sell. Yep. And that's in the downloads. The other download that I love is the pro forma. What that does, I actually created it myself, Michael. So I created that one myself, in part because I'm a recovering financial analyst. But it's a free pro forma. And what I like about it is that I didn't see in any other rent pro formas was it would compare the properties. You'd put it in and it would tell you, here's what you would expect for your IRR, here's your cap rate, all of that. But it never told me I'm looking at 12 properties in the area. I'm following the one rental at a time method of do the work every day, check your market. And I'm saying, look at this one versus this one. Oh, this one's terrible. Or, hey, what about if we could negotiate the purchase price? Now it looks great. And so what I loved about it was each tab is a different property, but the first tab is a summary. And it essentially will compare all of my properties together. And then I can say, oh, okay, actually, look, this one's all in the green. Here's my cash flow every year. This looks
Love
good.
it.
And so it made it a lot more, it made it easier for me to very quickly, within 30 days, figure out what's going on in this market and is there anything I want to purchase. And then the resources tab also just has a lot of other things, articles on how to screen tenants, laws, security deposit rules, all the kind of fun stuff that go along with landlording.
Yeah. At the end of the day, folks, I think it's pretty clear with something we've learned the last 5 years. If you want to get wealthy, you need to own assets. A lot of you got lucky and tapped into 30-year money below 4%. A lot of you should keep it. You should become a quote unquote accidental landlord. And as you've seen in this video, Hemlane is the solution. Dana, where can they go and poke around and learn more?
Yeah, you can go to Hemlane, HEMLANE.com. Just mention one rental at a time because you do get our highest discount, 20% off your first year if you go with our paid packages, but we also have a free package for you.
You're amazing, Dana. Congrats. The team is doing amazing work. It's fun to watch this solution grow and evolve and provide more and more value. Great work.
Great. Thanks for having me.